Kadeen Rian. I'm the lifestyle lawyer. If you don't know me already, check out Kadeen_Rian on all other platforms. I'm starting YouTube because my community are telling me to start YouTube. My iconic twirl is what I've been doing on all social media. So I thought, how else would I start YouTube without doing my iconic twirl? My face is completely dry. I'm dressed because I am the sort of person that gets dressed before they do their makeup. Sorry, argue with yourself. But I'm dressed because I'm getting ready to go to the Aishan concert. I've been booked to do some content for them and try and help push the shows, etc., etc. So here I am about to get ready. So I thought to start my vlog, I'm going to do a whole weekend vlog, but to start off, I thought, let me do a get ready with me. Let me just try and angle the camera a little bit differently because it looks weird. So let's take you through my skincare whilst I'm talking about my life. You're getting to know me. If you don't know me already, I'm a lawyer. I work full-time as a lawyer. I also love dancehall. I also love the theatre. I love beauty. I just love life. I love traveling. Gosh, we have been traveling this year. This is Sunday Riley Ice. I'm going to use this to cream my face because it looks very dry. I actually didn't, normally when I'm going to do a full face of makeup, I will use like an exfoliating scrub to scrub my face, but my skin looks so glowy today. I was like, let me not upset it because it's actually looking all right. So I'm just going to use this. What can I tell you about me, guys? I'm 32 years old. I'm a homeowner. I've got a 2-bedroom flat. I'm full-time as a lawyer. I'm a solicitor specifically. What else about me? Gosh, this is hard. I've got to tell you all these stuff about me. I feel like I'm under pressure, but I'm not going to pause. I'm just going to keep going. I'm a trustee of a charity. I do lots of voluntary work. My favourite dancehall artist at the moment is Valiant. Second is Chronic Law, although Chronic Law is almost taking over from Valiant. I started doing content in February 2025, in case you're watching this in another year. And we are now the 10th of October and I'm starting YouTube, and I feel like that's my last platform to conquer. And I promised myself I'd do it before the end of the year. I don't know, because I really want all my content to be different on different platforms. So I'm thinking, wait, why am I using that primer? I actually take this with me traveling. This is the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer, I think it's called. Yeah. I use that when I'm traveling, but today I'm going to use the Milk one because I'm at home and I got a bit more thing. That was rubbish. So yeah, I'm going to try and make all my YouTube content quite different from my other content. Obviously, YouTube's long form, and someone said it should be a bit like a Netflix series of my life. So I thought weekend vlogs is a really good place to start because I go out quite a bit on the weekend. I get lots of bookings to do concerts, to attend parties, to do beauty events. And I thought, actually, why don't I take you guys with me every weekend so you can see a bit more behind the scenes? I feel like the Yellow app, I don't know what you're allowed to say on this or not, so I'm going to just call things by the colour. So I feel like on the Yellow app, that's like the chaos, the behind the scenes to my life. The Black and White app is a bit more, it's just like my rants. Like I just jump on, say whatever I want to say, and then I get off. And then what colour is that app? Pink? Red? Actually, I don't know what colour that other app is, but on the other app, that's obviously a bit more thought out content. So yeah, that's what I do. Then on this, I want this to be like long form docu-series. I'm using the e.l.f. Halo Liquid Glow Filter. I've completely stopped wearing foundation. This is all I wear now. And I never know exactly how much to put on my face, but this is all I wear. Anyway, I'm rambling, but sorry, I'm not going to like try and make this perfect. I feel like I'm nervous to do YouTube in a way that I'm not nervous to do any other app, which is really strange. Because one thing about me is that noise is really nasty, isn't it? One thing about me is I feel like I'm quite a confident person, but I think I have confidence when I know what I'm doing. Because I don't know what I'm doing, I lack the confidence. And I've been trying to start YouTube for ages, but I think it's the not knowing how to do YouTube that makes me like, oh my gosh, can I do it? How do you do it? And I just thought, you know what, Kadeen, just start, because I'm going to have to make it my own channel and mold it. So anyway, I'll stop rambling and I'll try and tell you some helpful things to get to know me. I think the question I get asked most a lot on other platforms is how I got into my career in law. I know there's lots of aspiring solicitors who engage with my content, and also just professionals in general. I've done a really, like, way too much. I'm just going to try to blend it out. I actually don't know why I've got so much on. I normally wouldn't even put it under my eyes, but because I've got so much, I'm like, geez, I need to put it everywhere. But Korean law, let's start. So I went to a private school, and it's funny because people are often shocked when I tell them I went to a private school, because I love dancehall and I'm always out partying and, you know, I wear certain outfits, which are dancehall outfits. But people are always shocked when I say, but I did go private school from when did I go private school? Year 7 to 11. I went to an all girls private school specifically, obviously dealt with loads of issues around racism, which we can definitely get into, but not today because I want to go out and have a good time. And then after that, I went to state sixth form. Money ran out. There was no money left. And so I went to state sixth form. I actually did really crap in my A-levels. I had some other stuff going on, which I'll talk about in more detail later, but I feel like I don't want to be too grim. Anyway, A-levels, I got A, C, and E. So I thought actually it's going to be a really hard battle to get into Korean law and actually qualify as a solicitor. But I just went for it. I was like, do you know what? Just go for it, KD. Like, who's going to stop you? And that's often my motto in life. No one's going to beat me. No one's going to stop me. And if you believe in yourself, you can probably do it. And I said, I've got A, C, and E. I didn't get into my first choice uni, which is Brunel, which is actually probably a blessing in disguise. But I did get into Nottingham Trent, which was my backup uni. And I was like, actually, I really should just come out of London, get away from everything and just focus on my studies. And that's what I did. By the way, because I had so much on and I needed to blend it, I just have used a beauty blender just to really get into it, because I'm like, I want it to look, I like my makeup very dewy, but I want it to look quite matte. Sorry, people keep saying that I've got ADHD. I have never been diagnosed and I don't think I have ADHD, but I do switch between topics quite a lot because there's so many things in my head at once, and then I'll just be like, well, let me say that and go back. But we are going to go on a story of my career and what I did to become a lawyer. Also, whilst I'm doing my makeup, so bear with. Hold on. So yeah, that's the all-nighter setting spray, by the way. Where were we? So I got A, C, and E, got into Nottingham Trent. So I packed up all my stuff and I moved to Nottingham to go uni. When I was in Nottingham, I didn't know what to study, right? So I didn't want to study law because someone once told me, probably shouldn't have listened to them, it would have saved me a lot of money. But someone once told me you don't need to study law to be a lawyer. And I was like, oh, great, because law's so boring. Like, you're studying law, let me go study something fun. But then I was like, what would I actually find fun? Because at this point, I was just picking a subject at random. I'm just putting on deodorant now because sometimes I forget to put on deodorant. Am I the only one that does that? So I'm going to put it on whilst I remember. So that I don't forget later. Because that will be crap and then I'll be conscious all night. But yeah, so I basically remember sitting in my sixth form, just going through the list of everything you could study at Nottingham Trent Uni. And you can tell that it took me a long time to find something, because it was only when I got to P that I was like, oh, politics, that's really interesting. My dad at the time only watched the news. I don't know. I'm Jamaican, by the way, if you couldn't tell. I'm Jamaican. I was born here, but my dad was born in Jamaica. My mum was born here, but all of my grandparents were born in Jamaica. And as a result, I feel like my family, they weren't very good at assimilating. We've been brought up quite Jamaican. And so anyway, my dad used to watch the news all the time. That's just 24/7 news, nothing else. Maybe like an old Western film or something like that. And he used to get me into politics because that's all he watched. So I was quite interested in government and politics at the time. And I thought, let's just do a politics degree. And when I looked at the modules, government and politics wasn't all of it. That was like one module. And then it was just politics in general. And I was like, cool, I can do this. Like I'll be able to enjoy it. And I didn't want to do psychology, but I did sociology when I was at A-level. So my A-levels were sociology, history, and what's that one? Chemistry. Chemistry was a disaster. It was a disaster. But I got an A in sociology, a C in history because I misunderstood one of the questions, and I absolutely knew that. But this is why I said everything happens for a reason. Because had I not misunderstood the question and actually wrote the answer, which I knew if I had understood the question properly, I would have ended up in Brunel, and that could have changed the whole trajectory of my life. So it was all for a reason. That question was there to throw me off, to put me on the path I needed to be on. Chemistry, that taught me resilience, because honestly, I had to resit so many times. I just couldn't cope with chemistry. It was really hard. And the only reason why I even took science is because I wasn't set on being a lawyer. And my mum was like, well, what if you change your mind? Just do a science. She actually made me do science. I did chemistry and maths. And then maths, I dropped after like 2 weeks. I was like, hell to the no. I don't want an AS level, which also meant I was already struggling because I didn't have any UCAS points. Is that what they're called? Yeah, UCAS points from the AS. I was just solely relying on my 3 A levels, one of which I was failing. I even had a private tutor that my school paid for because that's how bad I was doing. Like, it was actually a joke. But anyway, I found politics really interesting. But then I was a bit worried because I was like, I didn't study politics at uni, at college. Would I like it? And I was really good at sociology. So I applied to do sociology and politics. After my first year at Nottingham Trent, I hated the sociology units. I just felt like they weren't being taught the way that we were taught in college. They were just quite boring. I was like, I'm over it. So I basically gave that up. Sorry, let me try and concentrate on this bit. I basically begged them at the end of the first year to let me drop sociology and just do a politics degree. And at first they were like, no. And I was like, please, first of all, your first year doesn't count. So I was like, it doesn't matter, but I've actually done enough politics modules that I can move on to second year politics. And so they let me do it without having to resit a whole year. And I was so happy about that because I was in the last cohort of like the 3 grand fees, and had they have made me resit the year, I probably would have naively just done it, not realizing the debt I was getting myself into because I paid off my student loan, and I am so happy about it. So yeah, anyway, did I say I've been a qualified solicitor for 3 years? Maybe not, but I've been a qualified solicitor for 3 years. I've also been a homeowner for 3 years, so it's a lot of 3-year anniversaries. So yeah, that's what I did. And then second year, I was doing politics only. And then they had the option to study abroad. And I was like, option to study abroad? Sign me up. I was well happy with that. So I studied abroad. And I went to France for 6 months where I met one of my best friends ever. She's actually getting married next year. Can't wait. Has she announced that? Yes, she has. I say, has she made that public? So I'll be off to her wedding next year. But Erasmus was great. I felt like I was not enjoying really being in Nottingham as much. And so it was quite nice to get out. And I enjoyed that. Good experience. It was obviously great for your CV, especially for something like training contract applications. I felt like in order to like have stuff to say in your CV, I was glad that I could say that I studied abroad. I could speak French way more than I can now. Obviously now my French is absolutely rubbish, but I could speak it a lot more then. Sorry, I got my eyebrows done today. Is it just me? But I feel like when I get my eyebrows done, it's then harder to do them. Because they are almost perfect naturally. And then I'm like adding stuff and messing it up. I don't know if this is the actual right brush. But yeah. So that's basically what I ended up in uni. So that's what I did second year. And I absolutely smashed it. I worked really hard whilst I was in France. So I got a first in my second year. And obviously when I came back from my third year, the goal was to get a first. I also came back and I was like, look, I just want to live on my own. So I got a studio flat. But then I moved in with my boyfriend at the time. And that was a massive disaster. I broke up with him shortly after I finished uni. We'll maybe do a story time about that relationship. I don't really talk on relationships on social media though. So, but I suppose it was like over 10 years ago. So I could probably tell you about why never to live with your partner in uni. But yeah, so that was my experience. And then, sorry, I'm trying to like fix my eyebrow and I don't want to pause it because I basically just want to post this without editing it, just so I can get some feedback from you guys on how it works. I will obviously use some bits of this for my longer weekend vlog, but I'm going to do like a get ready with me Korean law type video, like just so that you guys can get to know me properly before I just show me screaming and shouting all weekend, which if you got me on any other platforms, you'll know that's exactly what I do. But anyway, yeah. Sorry, hold on. Yeah, so that was what I did. And then third year I came back and the focus was just to get a degree. I also did, how I even met my ex-boyfriend is I had a summer job and then you basically, I don't think they do it anymore, but we used to have a contract where you only had to work when you're, basically you give them your uni term details. And then when you're not at uni, you have to go back and work. And that was at Cineworld in Wandsworth. And so that's where I worked and that's where I had met him. Never date someone you work with. Gosh, that everything was just like a red flag. Dated someone I worked with. Then he moved from London to Nottingham to move in with me in a studio flat. Quit his job, which I naively thought was very romantic. Obviously assumed that when he got to Nottingham, he would get another job. That man did not have another job the whole duration of our relationship. And I was funding it off the money that I had, which was meant to be for my studies. Long story short, there's just story time. But basically, yeah, so that's what happened. And then I just focused and I ended up getting a first class degree. I feel like I probably could have done better. I know it sounds crazy, but even though I got a first, I would have, like I really aim high. So I would have liked to have got an award or something for like outstanding something. But I felt like I was dealing with too much relationship issues and I could only really dedicate my time to getting a first. But I'm very strategic. Like I picked modules. I'm really better like coursework wise than I was exam wise. I'm such a crammer. I cannot practice for exams months in advance. I'm like 3 weeks before, give me everything I need to know and I'm gonna sit and cram it, get it all out in the exam, and then Bob's your uncle. So I basically picked a load of modules that were like coursework based as much as I could so that I had the best chance. So even though there was things I wanted to do, I was like, I'm not going to do that because if I have something coursework based, I have a better chance of doing it. So I was trying to give myself the least exams as possible, basically. And so that's what I did. Sorry, I feel like I'm like, because I'm talking constantly, I should have got a drink or maybe get some water in a minute. But that's basically what I did. So I ended up getting a first, which was exciting, and I graduated. And then the next thing was like, okay, go to law school. And I did the GDL and there was like a bank. Sorry, this is going horribly wrong because I'm like looking in a side mirror. Hold on. I do concealer so rubbish, and you guys are all gonna be like, hey Dean, that is just not how you do concealer. But I have tried so many different techniques, and honestly, all of them I just don't like. And I just feel like sometimes when I do this like really scruffy concealer in this really scruffy manner, I just like how it looks. Like, do you know what I mean? But anytime I try to do this really good technique, I just hate it. And my beauty content that I do, by the way, is mostly skincare. I'm not the makeup girly at all. I don't really wear makeup a lot of the time as well because I feel like I focus so much on skincare. I just want my skin to look good. And so I don't then want to always put makeup on it. I just want to like enjoy the skin that I'm spending all this money on trying to look good. Okay, cool. Where was I up to? Oh yeah, GDL. So SQE was not around in my day and I had to do the graduate diploma in law and I self-funded it. I did not have a training contract. I feel like when I was in uni, because I did a politics degree, I wasn't really applying for training contracts because it just wasn't something that was offered. And that is a bit of a regret of mine. Well, I don't regret anything in this life. It's not a regret, but it's a bit of a frustration, I would say, because I think if my uni had been a bit more like, oh, you can do this, even, come to the law fair, I probably would have started applying for training contracts early, but I didn't know. So I basically just went through doing uni. And then after I was like, okay, now I want to be a solicitor. Let me go apply for the graduate diploma in law. Oh, no one's going to pay for it for me. Well, what am I meant to do? I got a job in William Hills on a 12k salary part-time. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to pay for this myself. And I took out a loan and I self-funded and I did it distance learning because I was hoping that William Hill would let me go full time. And so, which they eventually did. And I used to literally sit behind the counter at William Hill with headphones in, with my laptop, with all my books, studying distance learning and working full time. Because obviously I had no money. And I've been living on my own since the age of 16. I've gone back home at small periods, but I've mostly lived on my own. So I always need money. I always need money. I'm such a hustler. I was even a loan shark at one point because I was like, by any means necessary, will I make money? And so that's what I did. I was at William Hill. And then after I did the GDL, I had started applying for training contracts and stuff. But I can't remember when I got my first final interview, but I definitely got a few final interviews. I just couldn't get the job. And then I was like, right, I'm going to pay for the LPC. And I was still trying to get a paralegal job all this time. I went through my whole GDL without a paralegal job. And then I did the LPC, again, self-funded. That was a bit difficult. I had to get a guarantor and it was very hard to get the money. But when I basically went into the LPC, I was like, I'm actually going to go part-time because doing full-time law school and full-time working was too hard. So I was like, I'm going to go part-time at William Hill. I use credit cards. Guys, like now I'm so good with money. I have such good credit and I always had good credit, which is what enabled me. But I just did what was necessary. Like I ran up my credit cards, I ran up those loans and I put myself through the LPC. Treacherous courses. I know the SQE is treacherous, but honestly, everything I did was probably, no, I'm not going to say as treacherous, but it was all treacherous. It was all treacherous. And sorry, I'm getting distracted. I've never done YouTube before. I meant to like pause and come back, but I feel like if I pause and come back, I'll get distracted for too long. And I'm like, I need to like be done so I can actually leave the house. And my concealer has not gone to plan today, but we don't have time to correct it. So cool. Anyway, it was treacherous, but I got through it. I passed my GDL. I failed criminal law, ironically, because everyone says it's like the easiest thing, but it was really hard for me. So I failed criminal law on the GDL, but didn't stop me. Went again. Honestly, I don't care what I was failing, how many resits I had. I did what I had to do. And so I did fail criminal law. So I only, once you fail something, that they cap it. So I was only ever able to get a pass on the GDL. So on the LPC, I was aiming for a distinction. That was like the whole thing. Like my A levels were crap, so I aimed for a first class degree. My graduate diploma in law was crap, so I aimed for my legal practice course to be a distinction. And I got a distinction. I absolutely smashed it. And I was so proud of myself. And I worked so hard. And I cried so much. And I hated it. And I would never do it again. I probably wouldn't recommend it to anyone. But I did it and I got the grades I needed. And I was really happy about that. I don't know why my nose gets blocked at certain times of night. I don't know. It's just happened to me. And that was after my LPC. And then during my LPC, I actually had delayed some of my exams because it was just a lot when I was working. And I've managed to get a job. And I got a job at the General Pharmaceutical Council in-house as a paralegal with just one solicitor. And it was really great experience. I think if you're new, I think a lot of people aim for law firms because you've got the dream of a training contract. But I was just aiming for anywhere. And I'm so glad I started in-house because that one-to-one practice that I got was so important in terms of helping me to develop, to understand. The worst thing that happened is my manager at the time left, and the manager that came in, racism all over. Like, it was horrible, the microaggressions, the undermining. And so I started looking for another job, and then I managed to get a job in private practice in the same area of law. Absolutely loved it, left the firm. And then obviously by that point, I'm hot on training contracts. I'm like, I've done my LPC, I've got I actually, when I was at GPHC, which is where I was working, the General Pharmaceutical Council in-house, I still hadn't finished a few exams on my LPC. So I was still like in the evenings. I actually used to stay in the office after work and revise. I'm like, right, the office is quiet. I've got this big computer set up. So I used to stay there and revise. Then I got the job in private practice. I still had a few exams, but at that point I was almost at the end of it. Was I in a new relationship with them? Probably. Anyway, we're not going to talk about my relationships. There's more than what I've shared with you. But then I went in-house in the same area, and I was really fortunate that I then passed all my exams. I got distinction in the LPC. That was all confirmed. I was still applying for training contracts. First year when I was in private practice, I didn't get a training contract. Or did I? No, I didn't. But in my second year, I got a training contract. And I was so happy. I didn't get a training contract at the firm. They denied me 2 years in a row. But I got a training contract at another firm. And I also got promoted to senior paralegal at the firm I was at. And actually, oh, hold on. Let me just do this and then explain to you what I did. Because I actually ended up going for a VAT scheme because I just couldn't get a direct training contract. Sorry. Just put in some cream bronzer. That is a lot of cream bronzer. Let me just drug. It's because I was talking, right? I put so much on the brush and I wasn't putting it on my face. I was just like loading up the brush for a very long time. This is the Chanel cream bronzer, by the way. I got it at a Chanel beauty event, and I absolutely love it. It's actually a really good color, not like too bronzy. Anyway, where was I up to? So yeah, I'd been applying for direct training contracts, and it was actually so difficult. Like, training contracts are so hard to get, and I was in the final interviews and I just couldn't get past the final interview. And obviously now I think you guys can see, like, even though I'm very articulate, I like to think I could explain myself well, the way that I communicate in general, I was raised by households of Jamaican people, so I don't think I communicate necessarily in the way that you're expected to. I think I've learned that more as time's gone along. But me coming out of uni, only really being around people. I just couldn't sit in a final interview with a load of white people and articulate myself enough to get a job. So I changed tactics. I was like, right, I'm applying for a VAT scheme. And at the time, I didn't want to do a VAT scheme because I was using all my annual leave to study and take exams. And I was working full time. And I was like, I don't want to use annual leave to just go and work. Like, I want to try and save a bit of money to go on a holiday. And so it was really annoying, actually. Hold on, let me do a time check. It's 9:27. What time do I need to be ready by? I think 10 about 10ish, 10:30, so I've got time. So yeah, it was really annoying because I was like, I don't want to take annual leave to do a VAT scheme. But when the direct training contract applications wasn't working, I was like, sacrifice got to be made, Katie. Like, you're not getting a job and you need one, and you're just going to have to take the time to do a VAT scheme. And all my friends were going on party holidays. We loved a party holiday. We don't do them as much now. I still go. I went Freedom Street. Was I in Freedom Street last month? Yeah, I was in Freedom Street last month. I still love a party holiday. Nothing's changed there. But my friends are not big on party holidays. And so we did... Sorry, I just had a thought. This is really long to watch back. Like, do people watch them back? Because I'm not finna just post it. Like, I'm gonna probably post it by the morning. Like, literally get ready with me because that's actually long. Anyway, sorry, I digress. I sacrificed anyway, and I was like, right, I'm going to apply for VAT schemes. And then I was like, because I can't do interviews, let me look at all the different VAT schemes that I'm interested in. And I was picking firms that did the area of law I wanted to do. I was like, let me look at all the areas I'm interested in and only pick firms that have processes that I think I can get through. So the firm that I applied for at the time did not do final interviews for their VAT scheme. They offered VAT schemes based on applications. And I remember seeing that and thinking, Bob is your uncle. I am going to write the best application I have ever written in my life, because once I get on the VAT scheme and you guys see that I'm good at my job, I believe I can get a training contract. Obviously, when you go on the VAT scheme, I still had to go through an assessment centre. I still had to do an interview, but I felt like being in the VAT scheme, knowing that I can be a solicitor, would give me the confidence I needed to go into the interview with them and be like, I've just bossed it for 2 weeks at your firm. Give me that. And that's basically what I did. I smashed my VAT scheme, blew it out the park, and they did like an assessment centre. And in the interview, it was just easy. It was just so way more natural. Like, it was just so much better for me having done it that way. So I was actually really happy that I changed tactics. And then when they called me, and I remember exactly where I was where I got that call. I was on my lunch break and I was walking and it was pissing it down with rain, obviously London. And I was right by a bank. I think it was a Barclays bank. And I got a call and they were like, oh, we're calling from HR. Have you got a moment to speak? And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. And I was thinking, oh no, this is going to be so sad. I'm outside on my lunch break in the rain and I'm about to get told that I was unsuccessful and I should try again. And this is just going to be feedback. And you know, when the banks have the little bit of shelter, I just stood in the little bit of shelter. And she was like, really, blah, blah, blah. And I was just so anxious and nervous. And then she was like, we'd like to offer you the training contract. I was like, I couldn't even scream, but I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. She's like, do you have any questions? I was like, no. And then I was like, oh wait, I do. I've already paid for my LPC and GDL. I know you're not going to give me back the money back, which you should have. But can I start next year because I'm ready? And she was like, there's a few people that may want to do that as well. So we'll let you know. But then they let me start. So I basically was able to start. And I got that training contract just before COVID and everything happened. And it was really great timing because then we went into lockdown and I had a training contract and I had done the VAT scheme in person. And obviously after that, all the VAT schemes were online. I probably wouldn't have been fruitful in that environment. So I feel like my timing was key. I qualified when I was 29, which for some people's quite late. For me, it was just the perfect path. Like, I have no regrets on the path I took. I think it meant that when I went into my training contract, I was a woman. I knew exactly what I wanted from my training contract. I knew what I wanted from a career. I also knew who I was. Like, I could go into the office or in a meeting like this. I felt so confident. I wasn't just young and naive. I'd been working. I also knew I was good at my job. Do you get it? Respectfully, I'm great at what I do. Hold on. Little setting spray. By the way, I put the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray on just randomly 3 layers. And I'm using the Patrick Tar blush in She's So LA. What's next? I'm actually getting so distracted. So I don't know how often I can do get readies with me because I feel like I'm ruining my makeup, but I'm committed to finishing telling you this story. But yeah, I was just so committed. I was like, I know I can do it, and I much prefer like going there and showing them. So I feel like if you're applying for direct training contracts, whatever the case may be, just try and go for a VAT scheme. Like, I know that you just think, well, other people can get it through a direct route, but everyone has different skills. My skill at that time was not selling myself to people that don't look like me. Does that make sense? I just couldn't. And it's not like, I don't think it was a racism thing. I think it was probably like that imposter syndrome. I do not struggle at all with imposter syndrome now, but I feel like back then, going into an interview with an all-white panel, looking nothing like me, in a £10 Primark dress that I've bought, it was just too much. I felt like I was so overwhelmed. I just couldn't ever get the answers that I needed out of my mouth, and I was always forgetting stuff. And so I changed tactics, and I was like, I know I'm great, and I know how to write that and articulate that. So let me just do that way. And that's what I ended up doing. And then obviously they offered me the training contract, and I continued working as a paralegal, and I wanted to like quit and do traveling and all of that. But then we went into lockdown and I ended up being on furlough. So I actually just chilled for ages before I started my training contract. And then I started my training contract in lockdown, which again changed the experience. And I know people always say, I've had a few trainees ask me for advice. Work your socks off. That's the best thing you can do. And not just to impress, but also so you can really be clear what path you want. Do you want to stay at the firm? What seat do you want to qualify into? And when you qualify, what sort of work in that seat do you want to do? Like, so I would put all the time in. People talk, and I feel like there are lots of people that underestimate how much things people notice. And I'm not talking about your appearance. I'm talking about your work ethic. Like, if you're always if your contract says you finish at 5:30 and at 5:30 you're pressing shutdown, as opposed to like going to record your time at 5:30, that's the sort of thing that would get noticed. Do you know what I mean? And I think we have to just put the hard work in. It's 2 years. It's like a 2-year interview. And that doesn't mean it needs to be a daunting 2 years, but it means it needs to be 2 years where you're like, right, I'm going to get the job done. And get the job done. And so I feel like that's what I did. I feel like I missed the story of how I got a paralegal job as well. So let me just finish explaining my training contract and how I qualified, and then I'll just jump back. But yeah, that's basically what I did. Worked my socks off. And then I was like, actually, I don't want to stay at this firm because it didn't really do the work that I wanted to do full time. And so I emailed the partner who I worked with when I was a paralegal, who has contacts, sent her my CV. She shipped it around, and it's about who you know, not what you know, which is not true. It is about what you know, but it's about recommendations. That is how the legal industry works. And she helped me land my NQ job, which is where I am now and where I'm staying, which is super exciting. And I love it. And I've been there for 3 years. And yeah, that's it. And now I'm a solicitor. I've been promoted to an associate, and I love my job, and I have a great work-life balance. And I love my life, really. Everything is really exciting. And then this year, my paralegals asked me to start content because they thought my life was fascinating and interesting, and here I am doing content, which is really exciting. And just to go back to how I got my paralegal job, I really struggled with getting a paralegal job because I was working at William Hill at the time. And I think same like what I would say with TC applications as well, and CVs, make every sentence count. I feel like now when I look at applications, I can see dead sentences. Like, I'm like, that sentence adds no value, tells me nothing about you, tells me nothing about why you're applying for what you're applying for. It gives no context. It's just like a filler sentence, and you've got to get rid of those. You've got to make sure that everything you're adding makes sense. And I feel like that's what I learned to do. And I learned to like do a good CV and a good application, and everything made sense. Everything gelled together. I also was reviewing an application the other day for one of my mentees, because I have a mentoring program that I launched since I set up social media, which is really exciting. But on that application, what I was saying to her is, you've done lots of research about the firm. Excellent. You've embedded it properly, aligning your interests, but I still don't know about you. I feel like I could take your name off it, put my name on it, and you would read that and believe it's about me. You need to take some of those filler sentences out and put sentences in that mean that I connect with you, and I'm reading and I think, oh, she sounds really interesting. I really understand her interest and what she's trying to achieve. What's that? And that's what I feel like I had said to her that she needed to do. And I think a lot of that about a lot of applications. And I think that's what I realised. And my aunt, one of my aunts who passed away, I used to send her my applications and she used to tell me they're like watching paint dry. I don't think that's so mean. And she would never help me edit them. She would always just tell me to go back to the drawing board. But sometimes some of the paragraphs were like watching. It was like so boring. It's like, what are you saying here? What are you trying to get across? And so she really helped me to learn to make every sentence count, every word count. And just think, like, if you've got 200 word count, if I remove that sentence, does that really change what I'm saying? No. Then remove it and put something better in. If I change the words around, like sometimes people write things in really long-winded ways and you end up using 10 words to say what could be said in 5, and you could have used those other 5 words to sell yourself even more. And so that's something I learned to do. I'm just using the Fenty Beauty Bronzer in Cocoa Naughty as eyeshadow. I told you my makeup is very basic. And sometimes I just randomly do something different, but most of the time it's pretty much the same, but never really in the same way. Yeah, so that's what I did. And paralegal wise, I was working at William Hill and I was just struggling to get a job, but I just applied everywhere. I used agencies, I did everything. And one thing about me is, like, I may not have had the experience, but I know that my written work is really good. And I would say, like, even if you don't have all the experience and you're not getting the jobs you want, make sure you're doing stuff to improve your written work. Like, do voluntary works, write articles, do things to help you practice. Because when I did get an interview for a paralegal job, as I said, I'm crap at interviews. They also gave me feedback that I was crap in the interview because I don't have the experience. I couldn't answer the questions. But when they gave me a written task, I did excellent on it. And I did better than all the other candidates who did have the right experience and were better in the interview. But they gave me the job because they wanted someone that could just start tomorrow and do the written work. It wasn't about, oh, but I've done this, I've done that. It was like, yeah, but if we give a set of instructions, can you interpret the law in order to answer the question? And I was able to demonstrate that. So I managed to get a paralegal job with no experience. I think my salary was maybe like 29,000 or something like that. It was actually really good at the time. And that was because my written work was excellent. And I would say if you are going into any job and you've got an assessment and they ask you to complete something, finish it. Because one of the feedback I got was that I was the only one that actually finished it. And I think even if you get to the bit that you're running to the end, I just do a bullet points and I'm like, I hope this is helpful as a starter, but here are some other thoughts that we may want to consider. It would be helpful to discuss. Like, just write something so it looks like your letter or your advice notes finished, but you can put the things that you were going to talk about as bullet points and just suggest to the client you follow up, or suggest to your partner, oh, it'll be helpful to have a meeting. Is my nose running? Oh my gosh, it is. Hold on, I'm actually going to have to pause because I got bogey. Sorry, that's why I didn't want to go away, because I knew I was going to get distracted. I just ended up on my phone and I'm like, oh my gosh, Katie, you were in the middle of a story. But anyway, that's how I got my paralegal job. That's how I got my, it's so funny actually, just telling you guys all of that whole story. I got my paralegal job and also got my training contract based on my written work. And it's so funny because if you ask me why I want to be a solicitor, it's not really because I had this like passion for being a solicitor. It's because I wanted to be in a job where I was good at it. That's my biggest thing. I want to be good at the things I do. And I'm very good with reading and writing. So I was trying to align myself with a career where my sole job was to read and write, because I was like, I like reading and writing. I'm good at reading and writing. Why don't I just do something where all I have to do every day is read and write, and surely I'll be good at it. That's why I didn't become a barrister, because I don't want to speak. Obviously now I do content, I speak, but I love that I can choose when to speak. Whereas as a barrister, you are told when to speak. As a content creator, I speak when I want to speak. And as a solicitor, I attend a few meetings here and there, but I mostly sit in silence all day. I'm an introvert, even though you might not believe me. I am very much an introvert. Is this camera not center? Oh my gosh, that whole time. Yeah, even though you might not believe me, I don't understand why my nose is blocked. I hope I'm not getting ill when I'm about to be going out like this in the middle of the night, because it's 9:45 right now and I'm about to head out and it was going to really annoy me. I'm going to take my antihistamines and hopefully it clears it up. But my makeup is actually looking okay, given I did the whole thing whilst talking. Normally I just sit in silence or listen to music. So I'm really proud of myself and I just can't believe I'm getting ill. I'm trying to think what I haven't done makeup wise that I would normally do. My eyebrows are a bit, do you know what? They're sisters, not twins, so let me leave them. Let me do my next. Oh, actually, let me just powder down my whole face to take off that shine. Yeah, I don't know if I've missed anything. Obviously, if you have any questions, do ask me. I'm using this MAC Dark Tan Mineralized Skin Finish, which my sister was probably, I feel like this might have been the first makeup product I ever had, and I've loved it ever since. And I don't know if they still do it, and I hope they do, because I've been using it. Oh, I forgot to like slick my eyebrows down. I've been using it for so long, and it's just like the perfect powder to put all over my face, and it really helps. And then usually when I go out, which I'll bring today, I just bring one of these. I actually might bring a smaller one, although it's a bit dirty, just to like dab my face when it gets too much. But yeah, that's my Korean law, guys. Like, I feel like there's so much I could sit down and tell you long form, but I feel like I want to do YouTube and give you the content you want. Like, I don't really, not that I don't care to do YouTube, but I don't really need to sit here and just say stuff. Like, I do all my other content. Hold on. I do all of my other content and I have loads of fun with that. But for me to do this type of content, the idea is that I can answer your questions, get to know you. Obviously, if people just want to see me going out, I'll just take you with me. I'm going to try and do that today and take you with me when I'm out. But I also want to try and make sure that if I'm sitting here doing a get ready with me, I'm answering your questions. My Korean law is something people ask about all the time. People ask me, like, how do you work and study at the same time? I cried. Like, I cried. How do you do that? I cried. I didn't sleep. I struggled. It might look now like things were really easy, but it was really hard. Like, it was really, really hard. And I struggled. Hold on one second. Can you hear me? Wax some over here. I'm just getting some wax to wipe my hands down. But yeah, I really, really struggled. Nothing has been easy for me. Everything's been a struggle. But obviously now when I present on social media, I'm 3 years qualified. I'm a homeowner. I've got savings. I've still got a bit of debt from law school, but I've majority cleared all my debt. He got out my teeth. I've had my top 8 teeth done, but that was after I had an accident. So yeah, I just feel like now my life's a bit more settled. I've got like a better routine. So I feel like people probably don't see, if I had been posting 10 years ago, me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm going to fail. I'm going to quit. But I did have all of those struggles, and those are totally normal. The biggest advice and tip that I have, hold on. Oh, it's finished. It's the Tatcha Dewy Spray. Oh, I don't like the way that's coming out. That's finished. But the way it's coming out, oh my gosh. Can you see what it's done to my face? I should have stopped spraying. Let me dab in. But yeah, my biggest advice is just not to give up. Like, it is hard. It will be hard. But if a Korean law's hard, life is hard. So you can't just stop because things are hard. You just have to keep going. Hold on. You can't stop because things are hard. You just have to keep going. And I'm not going to say it will get easier, because maybe it won't get easier. But so what if it doesn't get easier? What you need to learn is coping mechanisms, have different strategies. I go gym 4 times a week. I generally eat clean because I just try to look after my body. Again, these are my strategies and things that make me feel good. I eat a lot of salad. Not salad. Actually, I do eat a lot of salad, but I meant to say fruit, because again, eating fruit makes me feel good. And those are the strategies I have. I need to do my lips and my lashes. But I'm also just going to try and sort my hair out. I actually had my hair done. Ta-da! It looks so neat. Jeez. It's so neat, but my hair gets so dry and flakes so quickly. My hair does not like gel. But I am, funny enough, I'm like, my hair does not like gel. But I'm going to take out some gel. I don't do edges, so I asked her to put these little curly bits at the front. But they're quite fluffy. So what I am going to do before I do my eyes and my lips, and I'm actually ahead of time because I need to leave my house maybe like, at what time do I need to leave? 10:45, and it's 9:51. But I've actually started early so that I could be slow and do YouTube. And I'm really proud of myself because I've done it. And what if I actually try and post this like before I go out. No, that's too ambitious. I'll probably try and post it tomorrow. But yeah, I'm just putting a bit of gummy wax on the curly bits. Just, oh, that was maybe a bit too much there. Just so that they like stick. Because then it's not as fluffy. Can you see here where these have got really fluffy already? So I just rub the gummy wax in my hands and then just rub it down it. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else. I'm trying to think career and law-wise what I could say. I think it's just dedication, hard work. It's a sacrifice. Like many of you will be watching this in your 20s, in uni, thinking, oh, I want to be a qualified solicitor. This is where I want to be. It's just not a straight road. You might be watching people in your uni get training contracts. Just focus on yourself. Everything's the right timing. Lots of people get training contracts, qualify, and then leave because they're not at the right firms. They can't get the departments they want, and they end up doing other stuff. I took a longer road. I paralegaled. I self-funded. But in the end, I'm doing... Oh, put a bit too much down. In the end, I'm doing exactly the area of law that I want to do. And I'm happy where I am. I love my job. I love my work. And so I think for me, there is a lot of merit in just going on your journey. But I think the main thing is making sure everything you're doing on your journey is impactful, and don't just do stuff for the sake of ticking a box. Life is really short. And I think you have to just try and do what you need to do to get places, but don't sell yourself in the process, and don't compromise. Oh my gosh, that is so tight. Just try to take that hair out. Oh, so tight. Just don't compromise along the way. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, stick to your guns. You know what type of law you want to do. Why would you apply to a law firm that doesn't do it just because you like want a training contract and then you can pivot? Life's too short, I think, to pivot. And I think a lot of the time those are the things we do, and then you end up in places and you're unhappy. You've got to think about your mental health. You've got to think about the mental load, and that's something I'm really keen on. Like, mental health is very important to me. I've been through therapy. I go to the gym 4 times a week to protect my mental health. Like, there's so many things that I've put in place to protect my mental health. Music actually protects my mental health, partying, stuff like that. Just to go out and shake a leg. Those are the things that bring me joy and help make sure that mentally I'm like happy and on the right track. And I think even at this stage, like whether you're in uni or you've just finished uni, whatever stage you're at, those are the things you need to be thinking about. You need to be prioritizing your mental health. Don't just sell yourself because it's like, oh, my dream is to become a solicitor. Because then when you become a solicitor and you're unhappy, then what? Then what's next? Okay, now you're a solicitor, cool. Now you've got all this work to do. You've got no life. Because, like, now what? I'm not saying solicitors don't have life, but you could end up somewhere where you have to sacrifice a lot of your time to do the job. What do you do then? Like, what's the answer? So I think it's really important to think about those things and to not sell yourself, not to sacrifice too much, because it will be difficult. Sorry, my nose is so blocked. It's so annoying. I'm like, is someone telling me don't do YouTube? Because I'm trying to do YouTube and my nose is really blocked. And I'm like, what have I done wrong? Like, all I've tried to do is sit and give some motivation about people who want careers in law whilst doing my makeup. And I've ended up with a really blocked nose. And I'm just feeling really uncomfortable. And maybe I'm just not meant to go out. I've also bought mini mascaras because I feel like my mascara just goes off so quickly, and I don't do lashes. Right, I'm going to pause again and then come back. Or should I just wrap up? I don't know if I had anything more to say. I might just leave it there, guys. But I want to show you my final face. Okay, let me come back. But I'm just traumatized by the fact I'm getting ill. I'm back. I did my lashes whilst I was away, and then I just thought I'd come back to do my lips. But honestly, I took antihistamine as well, like hay fever tablet, whatever, to try and stop this blocked nose. I feel like to do one of those. Oh, in fact, I will. I've got one of those like squirty things. Let me do that. Something, because I'm actually going out. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I literally need to leave my house. Right, I think you push down and then do it. Oh, it's awful. But hopefully it will actually be enough to get me through the night. Wow, that one felt like it wasn't that high. Oh my gosh. Guys. Oh my gosh, look, that had mascara on it. The hell? Okay, sorry, I was doing my lips. I'm using the MAC Chestnut. Old school. Never fails. Yeah, sorry. So I just thought I'd show you my lips anyway. And then I will wrap up. And I don't know, I think I might have to post this as a separate Get Ready With Me because it's so long. And I feel like it's not helpful to do a weekend vlog where the first 45 minutes is just me talking about law. So I might make this a separate video. Sorry. It's a very bad lip liner. Like, not the actual lip liner, the way I'm lining it. Probably because I'm talking at the same time. I should have just not done that. Anyway, too late. I've done it now. And then I'm using this Bare Minerals Heat. I got this in Advent calendar and I just love it so much. And it's actually lasted so long. I don't want to rebuy one. And I doubt I'm going to get another one. I hate I get something similar that can replace it because I just love it. It's such a nice colour to put in the middle. You see what I mean? Just goes real good. And then I do the Fenty Beauty. I'm going to use Fenty Glow. I've got so much Fenty Beauty lip gloss. But actually, if I put Fenty Beauty lip gloss on my lips first, it starts healing. So I feel like I'm allergic to them. But if I put it on top like that, it actually is okay. And then I do the Revolution Pout Bomb, which I absolutely love. It's actually clear, but because I'm always using it, it's got different colours. And it just makes them extra glossy and shiny. And that is the look that I go for. Oh my gosh. Oh, just made a mess. To clean that up. That is the look I go for. Just like that. I love a glossy, shiny lip. And a glossy face. Matches my smile. Just like bright, shiny, glowy. So I'll put all of those in my bag. But yeah, that's my Korean law. As I said, if you have questions and there's stuff you want to know, let me know. Like, I'm starting YouTube. I don't know how often I'm going to drop content, but I'm going to try and be as consistent as I can and try and drop something every week. Or at least film something and then just give myself a bit of time to edit it. I was meant to be doing this as a weekend vlog, but I'm basically going to refilm my little, not intro again, but just be like, weekend vlog part 2. Sorry, I ended up doing a whole Get Ready With Me. And so I will do a weekend vlog. Obviously, you guys have seen the Get Ready With Me, but now we're going outside. So I'm going to take you with me outside and yeah, take you with me the whole weekend. This weekend's actually not exciting, but I think it's a good weekend just because there's not so much going on. And it gives me the chance to practice ahead of a weekend where there is like so much going on. So I'm quite happy about that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, please give your thoughts and feedback. I feel like I'm just me all the time. I don't have like a social media voice. I just chat whatever, say what I've got to say. But obviously when I'm trying to be helpful, I try to think a bit more, be a bit more articulate. There will be vlogs. I know you'll see over the weekend. I'm not going to be thinking because I'm just going to be filming what I'm doing as opposed to like trying to help you with something. So I think this first one is just hopefully really helpful. A bit of an intro to me. What else can I say? Yeah, let's go out.